Welcome to Spartan Up Podcast. We are in the barn mid-January, and it is cold out. I just had the pleasure of hanging out with my buddy, Jeff Vernon. You know, we hang out with people like this all the time. We are your grit and resiliency partner. We kick you in the ass. We come at you every single day. Subscribe on YouTube, because guess what's going to happen? You're just going to become the best version of yourself here in 2020. Anyway, my buddy Jeff Vernon, I've known him for about 5 years. This guy grows up in upstate New York in a cold, dark town. His parents decided to get into the wine business, which means they got to grow grapes. Not easy to grow grapes in upstate New York. It's like selling like winter jackets down in Key West, Florida. Anyway, we're going to dive into his latest venture, which is True Form Running. He teaches people how to run properly on this really unique treadmill. He's going to talk about grit and resilience.
I think sometimes hard work ends up just kind of being cliched and that, it's hard work. No, it fucking sucks, man. It's not hard work. It's like willing to tolerate or having an impossible path ahead of you, and you can't choose the right road. No, you just gotta hammer through it, right?
Just keep banging your head against that obstacle until you get through it. This guy is awesome. I learned a lot from him over the years. Anyway, stay tuned. Stay tuned till the end, because then we're going to study what we could learn from Jeff, what I've learned from Jeff over the last 5 years. We are here with Jeff Vernon, a buddy of mine, and he created this treadmill we're walking on. It's a little strange. If you're listening, you're going to hear a little noise. We are on a self-powered treadmill, and what it does is it forces you to run and walk correctly. There's no electricity, doesn't power on its own. If you don't walk correctly, you don't go. And if you get really screwed up, you go really fast, right? So, wait, before you answer, you and I met each other years ago, and then you were kind enough last year in Tahoe at our World Championship. I had a couple of veterans ask if I could lock them in ocean containers during our race with treadmills where they were going to run in complete darkness and see how far they can go in 24 hours. You showed up and made it all happen.
I was contacted by, a couple of guys from Canada, and they said, hey, we want to run in a container, and we've read about your machine. It looks like it's the worst, hardest, most difficult thing to run on. And I said, yeah, it is. And they said, we want to lock ourselves in for 24 hours and do this competition. I said, you guys are crazy, right? And great, let's do it. And we brought Tosh in as an advisor, a mutual friend. And
Tosh, in case you guys don't know it, if you listen to some of the podcasts, Tosh comes on every once in a while with a 5-minute kick you in the ass little motivational speech. He's awesome. He's a veteran, real badass, and happens to be a friend of Jeff's also.
Yeah, so we supported Tosh in a couple of his 200-mile plus runs as his crew. And so we said, hey, we made this advisory panel. Tosh was one of the guys on the advisory panel. Phil Maffetone, Ian Adamson, another mutual friend, and Tosh. And so Tosh, this taxi's like, bro, I totally want to do this. You think they let me do this? And I'm like, sure, because they're raising money for veterans, right? Yeah. So any awareness that we can get is great. Their venue fell through in Canada. You and I had lunch, talked about something else. I think that same day, Tosh called you and asked if we could bring the event to Tahoe, and you said yeah, and made it big and made it huge, and it was great.
We had some fun, and thank God you showed up, because we had failed to consider that we actually had to have oxygen in the ocean containers.
Well, that was once you put Isiah in there. We didn't have that container was fitted for a user experience. Somebody to go in, check it out, come out, understand what the other 3 guys were going through, and then last minute.
Let me explain it to the listeners and the viewers. So, envision this: there's 4 ocean containers show up in Tahoe. Each one of them has a treadmill that, like we're walking on right now, in them, and folks are going to go inside 3 of them. We're going to lock the door, no way out, for 24 hours in complete darkness. The 4th container was meant for anybody who wanted to experience this for 30 seconds to 60 seconds.
We would lock them in for 30 or 60 seconds, and then we would open up. Isiah Vidal, many of you may or may not know, superhuman, comes to a bunch of our elite races, wins all our stadium events. I see him 10 minutes before, or an hour before, we're about to lock the containers. And I said, hey, Isiah, you ready for the championship tomorrow? Nah, I hurt my ankle, or I'm not gonna do it. I said, dude, what are you doing right now? He said, nothing. I said, oh, grab those bananas over there in the water. I have an idea. And literally, we walked 100 yards through a building. I brought him to the container, and I said, Isiah, how do you feel about going in an ocean container for 24 hours? Because we had that fourth container, which was meant for folks to test out for a minute or two. And I negotiated with him, and I said, if you win against these other 3 superhumans, I will get you a car. And as I'm closing the door, this guy had at most 40 minutes to think about this. As we're closing the door and locking him in, what kind of car? A Chevy. I want. But he did it.
He did it.
Trooper, and you outfitted the whole container quickly.
Yeah, and you told him if he participated, you'd get him a true form.
I told
him. If he won, you would get him a car.
And we got him a car, and you gave him the true form.
Yeah, I gave him true form. Yeah.
Which was awesome. Thank you for that. And so anyway, we got to know each other through that, and I got to learn more and more about the true form. You and I became friends. Now you're like the official treadmill of Spartan.
Yep. And we're working with you guys on running programming. Working with Sam at SGX on creating, training platform, daily WODs, those kinds of things that have, a running centric and healthy movement pattern play in, in preparing for a Spartan race.
And could help people become a better runner.
Yeah.
So let's go way back. You've always been an entrepreneur.
Yep. Yeah. Grew up on a grape farm in Western New York, and that's hard.
Talk to me about that, because I don't know a lot of people that grow up on grape farms. Like, you're picking grapes all the time? What's going on?
Yeah, you only pick grapes in a 5-week window. And, the rest of the time, most of the time, the shittiest job is the one that you do for the longest period of time. And it's in the winter right outside of Buffalo, right? So it's pruning. So you're out there pruning during the daylight hours, because it's short,
All winter because the grapes and leaves have fallen off the vines.
Yeah, they're dormant.
They're dormant. And why the fuck would anybody have a vineyard near Buffalo?
Well, it used to be that you need a certain amount of cold, you need a certain amount of heat, you need a certain amount of water in order to successfully grow grapes. And you can grow juice grapes. Welch's was headquartered there, right?
Okay.
It was the place in the United States to grow grapes prior to irrigation. So once they started, damming and providing irrigation out in Oregon and Washington and California, then they're able to produce, because they have a longer growing season, they're able to produce more grapes per acre out there than they can in Western New York.
I did not know
so
that.
now it's just a slog, right? Because you don't have the yield that they have out there. Prices are low.
Got to do twice as much work.
Twice as much work.
Freezing in the winter.
Yep, super cold.
All right, so you did that. You did the hard work, and I guess that was at a young age?
Yeah, I grew up farming.
You grew up doing that, and so...
Went to Cornell for viticulture after I finished at Ithaca.
Oh, nice.
Went back home.
Yeah.
Started growing grapes.
Yeah, so it was part of your ethos to just be an animal and attack every day, as if it's you just learned work ethic.
There's no choice farming. I mean, you just you take what you're given from nature, and you try to moderate that, but you don't have an option to
sit on the couch
to quit. I mean,
right. No
what are you going to quit on, right? I mean, otherwise you don't have. Again, it's picking grapes the whole time. You got one shot to make it at the end of the year, and everything you do is to mitigate the challenges from Mother Nature, to put as many grapes on the vines as you can to get them ripe in that little window.
5-week window.
Yeah.
And then the snow is rolling in.
Right, and the wind and the cold, and you can't quit. Otherwise you don't have grapes.
So you're out there listening to this, or you're watching it, and you're like, oh man, I posted today on Instagram and nobody liked it, and you're upset. You could be in Buffalo picking grapes.
Pruning grapes.
Right? What the fuck?
So my parents, they were pretty good. We had a rule, the rows are 8 feet apart, and if it was snowing so hard that you couldn't see the other person pruning, we could go home.
Got it. So as long as the snow was bad enough that
As long as the visibility
was shorter than 8 feet.
Shorter than 8 feet.
You got to go
then
home.
we could go home. Yeah.
That's a good rule. I like that.
Yeah.
So you should apply that to your own life if you're listening or watching this. Like only then are you allowed to go home. And what? Then you could have a peanut butter sandwich?
Yeah, I mean jelly too. Right? and then the other thing was if the high didn't get above 10, I didn't have to stay out all day.
Got it. Then it was only a half day.
Yeah, it was until you got cold and then you could go home.
It's all relative.
And it was a lot of wine. I mean, I wined for a long time before, you know.
No, but what's good is that sets the stage for what it's going to be like the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so from that, what happens? You're like, I got to get out of here.
I got to get out of Western New York,
Right.
which you could appreciate, right, from Central
Yeah.
New York. So, went to Connecticut. The only education I had and experience was running this grape farm. So I was a manager at a national landscaping company. I learned concept of repeatability, scalability, best practices, and then I built the first national snow removal company with a guy who was a snow removal expert, and I put all the back-end systems and that kind of stuff in there. And then he sold that. In the meantime, I had started a fence contracting business, and we were installing actually fences, decks, and pavers for Home Depot. And then we grew that to, in 3 years, to 250 stores in 15 states.
Wow.
I get this call Friday afternoon, pulling out of my driveway, and it's John from Home Depot. And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "Hey, I haven't talked to you in months. Well, how are you? How's your new job?" Because he got promoted because his boss got fired and his boss's boss got fired. Because it was 2008.
Sure.
And he's like, "Good, we're on the phone with Mary, his assistant." I'm like, "Hey, Mary, oh my God, how are you?" I'm like, "Good." He's like, "I think I got some bad news for you." And I said, "What's that?" And he's like, "We're going a different direction with the program." So, I mean, basically, you know, I'm sitting at the bottom of my driveway bankrupt, right? And I'm like, all right, how am I gonna get out of this, right?
Sure.
So we
But by the way, let's stop there for a second. Had you not had the experience growing up with the 8-foot visibility rule,
right.
you probably would have taken it even harder.
To me, it was just, it sucked, but I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out.
It's
fine.
not snowing.
It's not cold. My truck's warm.
Yeah.
So I got a job pruning this vineyard in Connecticut, little vineyard, 20 acres.
Yeah.
And
Back to your roots.
yeah, and it was simple. I'm like, all right, I'll get in, I'll bring my guys in.
Right.
2 weeks, boom. Now I need 50 more weeks of work, right?
Right.
So anyway, I got there and the vineyard was a mess. It actually had a blight citation from the town. And I said to the owner, like, I can prune these grapes, but this place is a mess, man. You can't. Don't pay me to prune them because
Right.
if you're not doing the other things, it's just terrible.
Right.
So he says, run it, fix it, So I did. I did that for, I don't know, probably 4 years. Put a really nice French bistro in there.
Economy's getting better.
Economy's getting better, and I don't like working for somebody. So basically.
Yeah.
So I started looking for other things to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're walking through this factory, and at the time, I was doing a lot of different things. All recreationally, but playing rugby, doing strongman comps, doing CrossFit, lifting, and playing volleyball. And especially for rugby, I mean, you had to maintain a level of fitness.
Sure.
Because you've got to get to the breakdown, right? You can't leave your team.
Sure.
Because you're like, I'm so out of shape. So you have to run.
Sure.
So I have an ankle that doesn't have any dorsiflexion, doesn't have any cartilage, has a lot of edema, it's a mess. And so I found that the only way I could run was in minimal shoes. So if you're running minimal shoes and you're 275 pounds, you have a lot of impact, especially on the leg that doesn't bend.
Sure.
So it turned out that I had pretty good running form because I had to.
Right.
And so I got on this treadmill. Base was in this factory that I was walking through in Connecticut, and I got on, ran on it, my 5 fingers, and I was like, this is amazing.
Did it look like this?
Yeah, it was this.
Just like
Without
this?
the handrails or the
Okay.
covers.
Got it.
And
It was a prototype.
yeah, he was making this treadmill, right?
Yeah.
And he was trying to market it, and he
It was collecting dust in the corner.
yeah, it was just, it's hard. I mean, you know how it is to be disruptive in the fitness industry.
Sure.
I mean, people don't want to be,
Try something new.
they don't want to try anything hard. They don't want to be, so running, right? The number one, walking and running, walking then running, two of them combined, you know, the largest, most highest participation sport or fitness activity in the world.
Yeah.
And telling, when everybody is doing this, telling them that they're doing it wrong,
Tough sell.
right? I mean, how did we start today?
Yeah, right.
You said, I'm going to hold on while we do this.
Yeah.
And I said, you have to activate your glute med.
No, and as soon as
And you said, yeah, you're right. Right?
Yeah,
So, I
and
mean,
then-
so
right.
here I am telling Joe,
yeah,
right? Dude, you don't know how to walk. You have to
Right.
pick your feet up.
right.
You can't shuffle. You can't drag. I don't know what's going on the left side, right? But you're dragging that left leg over.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to pick your feet up and set them down. You got to squeeze your glutes. Keep your core engaged.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, so you're going into the fitness industry
That's a tough sell.
telling these people that, hey, everybody's doing this and you're all doing it wrong.
Right.
Right? So you have to find a positive way to spin
to
that,
to
right?
message that.
Yeah, to message that. So, hey, we're going to reduce injury. We're going to keep you healthy. The problem is when people got on it, they didn't have success
Right.
getting on it, being instantly rewarded
hard,
with
too
a,
hard.
hey, this is too hard, right?
Yeah. You'd be better off with a downhill treadmill that's electric and also, gives you a shower at the same
Yeah,
time.
they would. I think what people would really love is like if you could have a motorized treadmill where the belt moved, and then you just sat in a basket and it could raise you up above it.
And just
you
kinda,
finished,
you could touch it every
yeah,
once in a while.
you could take
Instagram
a
pictures,
picture
yeah,
of it
yeah.
at the end. Hey,
Yeah, so
3
this,
miles today, PR.
this legitimately is the Spartan of treadmills, which means you're going to work.
Yeah, I mean it's a challenge, and it's
Right. But it'll make you better.
yeah. Robin, my wife is 20 year advertising video production
Right.
company. Net infomercials, TV commercials, stuff like that. And so the idea is we're going to help people walk and run better by creating content, showing them,
How to do it.
hey, squeeze this, pick this up, right?
Right.
Use your posterior, and this will be great. And as soon as everybody sees it, right?
It'll take
So
off.
it was May
Yeah.
when you and I met.
Yeah.
2014, the Spring Cup in at Reebok.
That's right.
We had just come to market,
Yeah.
and you walked up to me. It was the first thing we were going to do. She said, "Hi, I'm Joe from the Spartan Race. We're going to do work together."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, this is the curve I'm going to." He's like, "Yeah, I know all about it, right?" And you did actually, right? Because you've been running on me at Reebok.
Yeah.
I thought, well, this is going to be really easy, right? Well, it turns out that the other people in the fitness industry don't want disruption.
Right.
Well, you were disruptive.
Yeah.
You didn't like the way that the industry operated and
Yeah.
had already had that success.
Sure.
Yep.
And then it was easy from there.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. The struggle's real. It's been first.
Well, because then the rubber meets the road.
Right. Yeah. So
Right.
first 3 years, huge success. Hockey stick. Straight up, and planning like how are we going to celebrate our disruption by being more disruptive, and this is great. And then boom, lawsuit for infringing a patent that didn't exist when we started the business. And then
Because the companies that basically own the market, they don't
want
Yeah.
disruptive people in there,
Right.
right? So
It's not just treadmills, any of the
yeah,
street.
no, they just
Right.
don't want in, right?
Right.
They want to keep doing. They want to be doing what they're
Yeah.
doing, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
and then
make
we
it
weren't able to invest in our future
You're in this
because
fight.
we're in this dogfight over here,
Right.
and then you have all these imitators coming in to the space behind you, right? We're at the time hand making our treadmills in Connecticut, which we still do, but now we have a less expensive version. But so we're hand making them,
Right.
hand welding, hand bending, right? Hand
Right.
crafting, and then they're actually literally buying them for me, calling me, hey, okay, bring a bro deal, Southern California, pricks, right? So then people are going to China, producing shitty treadmills, coming in and saying, hey, it's the same as Trueform, it's just, it's less, it costs less, it's whatever. And then I'm fighting over here,
Right. You can't.
actually for them too,
Right.
because they're infringers as well.
Yeah.
So I'm busy fighting,
A lawsuit.
Goliath.
Yeah.
And then I've got these hyenas coming in and eating, snipping and taking
The ankle biters.
and to some extent completely taking pieces of our market.
Yeah.
So so that was 2016 when that started. 2017 got tough, and Brian's super resilient as well. I mean, again, second generation. Robin's second generation, self-employed.
Yeah.
Almost always has been self-employed.
Well, you're lucky that 3 people involved were resilient, because most people would have folded.
Right, and not been friends and not been married, and we've been fighting, and then so last year, about a year ago, we settled a lawsuit.
Nice.
Which was great, and that.
And now you're getting down to business.
Yeah. Now we're able to engage in relationships with people like Spartan and other strategic partners, distributors, other events, because we're not limited now by having the possibility that the single product that we sell, other than our training, but on which all of our training is based, might go away, right?
Yeah.
So who wants to do a deal with that, right? So it's coming together for us now, which is awesome.
I want to go right to the 3-4 big takeaways we talked about a little bit before the podcast. In this whole journey from 4 years old, freezing your off, it's not picking grapes. You said it's pruning grapes. Apologies for those wine lovers and experienced people out there that do this. Let's go through the takeaways. So first thing is, you said, hard work.
Hard work, right?
At the end of the day, like, nothing can be achieved without it, right?
Well, and I think sometimes hard work ends up just kind of being cliched, and that it's hard work. No, it fucking sucks, man. It's not hard work. It's like willing to tolerate or having an impossible path ahead of you, and you can't choose the right road, or no, you just gotta hammer through it, right?
Just keep banging your head against that obstacle.
Yep. Until you get through it, or fail.
Right. Thomas Edison, 1,000 light bulbs.
Yeah.
Right. And there are 999 ways how not to make a light bulb.
Right.
But when you think about not just the True Form experience, but every business you've been involved in, it's the same every time, right?
Yeah.
Might not be a lawsuit, but it's a snowstorm.
Right.
Might not be a snowstorm, but it's the economy.
A snowstorm when you weren't planning to have one, right?
Right.
You just got a contract signed, and
Right.
you have a national deal, and it snows in 14 states in October, right?
Right. My father used to say, not everybody has a stomach for entrepreneurship. All right, so we talked about hard work. Next one was opportunity. I mean, you're walking through this warehouse, looking at skylights, and somehow we're on treadmills right now.
Yeah, we are. Probably short-sighted. In the end, I just, the fitness industry is really small. I've come to learn that it's really small, with a finite amount of players, and they're all playing. Even though they have different brands, they're all playing for the same team, and so it's not. I mean, it seems like a lot, right? 110 million walkers and runners, and like let's use them as our target market, and let's help them move better. Whether they've got a true form, they don't have a true form, it doesn't matter, right? It's the same stuff is true. Stacked joints, engaged posterior, engaged core, head in a neutral position. All things that I'm still working on, right?
Yeah.
Helps you live a better and longer life, right? So, boy, that message would be great. And look at all these people that we can deliver this to, and it's a small market, and flat roofs in the Caribbean is probably bigger.
No, but the bottom.
But I thought well, this is a slam dunk, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing like this in the industry. I go in an MMA gym, and I've got to do the same move over and over and over. I go to a strongman gym, and I've got to show the same move over and over again. I go to CrossFit, and I've just been training with Derek Poundstone for a month, right? So America's Strongest Man. I know how to deadlift. I go to the CrossFit box. They make me pick up a stupid piece of PVC, and I've got to go through this PVC motion. And then when it comes to running, go run a mile, come back in. Right? Same thing for the Spartan race, right? Here's how you carry the bucket. Here's how you climb a rope. Here's how you jump with this big fat rope.
So everything else is
right,
being
and
taught.
then go and run 13 miles while you're at it. Right? that's, you know how much impact that, I mean, thousands of tons are you know, like that you're absorbing into your body, and you're on a continuum where you can do it really well or you can do it really poorly, and everybody's somewhere in between and has an opportunity to improve, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, this is a no-brainer, right? This will be great. Everybody's going to love it. So you loved it out of the gate. You know, Dave Castor loved it out of the gate. But you know, still, even with
anything great, anything
yeah.
disruptive is just going to take time. I mean,
Right.
you're just in the middle of a snowstorm right now.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. So, but right now it's you know, as we've talked about in recent months, it's been, you know, it's back to what.
It's good. It's sunny out. The
It's
grapes
sunny
are starting to grow.
Yeah, right.
Good.
Pruning's done.
Pruning's done. All right, and then, well, we just said it, I guess. Then you said, look, it's never a straight line to be successful. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
bumpy.
and it's not always forward progress.
Not always forward progress. You're going to take 10 steps back.
Yeah.
And then one forward.
And sometimes it's 10 steps back, and then it's 5 more back, and then it's 8 more back, and you just keep getting pushed back.
But you know what? I've known you now. To your point, I've known you 6 years.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, a little.
Five and a half.
Yeah.
5.5 years, and every time we've run into each other, which is at least a couple of times a year, maybe more, right? Certainly in the last few, you're always moving forward.
Yep.
Even though you're moving backwards, you're moving forward. You're leaning in.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. You adapt and overcome. You refine your message. You see what's working, what doesn't work. Some things that don't work, I won't give up. Right? The display, right? Pace, speed, distance, and time, and heart rate. Like, what else do you need to know?
Yeah, right.
Right? So I was at Runner's World the other day, and they're there going over the treadmills, and I don't know, it's like 20 minutes, right? They're showing them how to use the display on this motorized treadmill there, this new great treadmill, and motor, you know. Anyway, so it's like 20 minutes, and like that, and the people are joking, you know, because they're like, I can just I'll bring my own tablet in, and I'm like, exactly, right? What are you doing? Yeah. You're going to walk or run, like. Let's work on the skill of walking or running, or have it happen organically or intuitively, right? So that you don't even know that you're working on it. Right. Instead of trying to figure out how to run a tablet that you can just bring from your desk and, you know, set down somewhere, or just don't do a tablet for 20 minutes and work on running at your heart rate.
Do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But like you said in the very beginning, we wouldn't exist if human beings wanted it easy.
Well, and neither would the running economy, right? I thought about that as I'm driving back. It's a long drive. Yeah. Wake up in the morning. Now I'm angry. And I'm like, fuck. Why is anybody even thinking about running on this stupid motorized treadmill that's new thing is it has a tablet, right? I'm like, what's it delivering, right? If we had a tablet and it was live on demand and they could do a workout with Joe De Sena and it, cool, right? But it, like, a tablet so that, you can connect it to any app you want. So I can Facebook, from my tablet like I can from my phone. And it was just, I was just so mad. And I'm like, I think those people, many of them, especially the leadership there, because I've come to know them, think that's stupid. But I'm not advertising in there. I'm not buying 2-page spreads. I'm not, so.
The emperor has no.
So they have to talk about how great this new treadmill is, because it's tablet. Otherwise, because that's what's.
No, I get it. I mean,
that's what's buttering the bread, right?
Yeah.
So
I get it.
So I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I either need to give them several $1,000s every episode, and and do that, and say, hey, get in your. Get in your minimal shoes, and get upright.
Just get the best athletes on these things, and performance always wins.
The cool thing is the best athletes have been on them. Yeah. In many respects, it's been a secret because they want to have that competitive advantage, that 0.5% or half of a tenth of a percent or whatever it is over the other people. But slowly, as more best athletes are training on it, it's becoming more and more obvious, right? Yeah. So, there isn't anybody. There isn't any sport that, whether it's a title holder, an Olympian, or whatever, there isn't any sport that the pinnacle of that sport, football, Boston, right, you know, you name it, right? Every team, player, athlete, in every sport, there is somebody training on true form. I mean, there are people, you know, the top athlete in Boston, right? Yeah. Begins and ends every day on his true form, whether he's working out or not, because it's exactly what you found, right? It activates your everything, right? Yeah. It gets you, as Dr. Cucuzella likes to say, you know, it gets you undrunk, right? When it gets everything in balance. It shows you where your issues are.
I love it.
Yeah.
Knuckles.
I'll tell you, wasn't that interview awesome? What's amazing about Jeff, for me, is he is also disrupting the fitness industry. You know, when we came in with Spartan, it was a new concept. It was not immediately accepted by the fitness community. It was a bunch of crazy people out in the dirt, out in the mud. And it's no different for Jeff, right? Because the mindset of the gym goer was typical treadmill, something they had seen for the last 20 years. So when you come in with something new in any industry, it's already hard to build a business, but when you come in with something new, you've got to convince people to accept that new thing. And you got to be pretty gritty, and you got to be pretty resilient to withstand all the challenges of starting a new business, but on top of it, trying to get people to accept this new methodology, this new system. I got to say, I was skeptical in the beginning. He brought one over to my house, and I don't want to sound like a late night commercial. I put it in the garage, and I'm not even a believer in training indoors. I'll do my burpees, et cetera, but I'd much rather go outside and drag a chain or carry a rock to the top of the mountain. But for the hell of it, at 4 a.m, every morning for like, I don't know, the last 35 days, I've been running in my garage and on this true form. And it's awesome. I mean, I'm only doing a 5K on this thing every morning, but you lean forward, you go faster. You lean back, you go slower. It's pretty awesome. But by the way, I know him 5 years. It took me 5 years before I finally took a treadmill from him. So he couldn't get me at the beginning, just like we couldn't get a lot of people at Spartan. But here's a guy that grew up in upstate New York, which is the wrong place to be in the wine business, the wrong place to grow grapes, ice cold weather, right? His parents are saying, look, you're going outside unless visibility is below 8 feet, right? So here's a guy that's used to adversity. Making a treadmill with a curve in it, it's not that big a deal if you're out at 8 or 9 years old in a blizzard every day trying to work on, you know, the grapevines, right? So, by the way, that goes to this idea that we talk a lot here about, which is if you've got children, toughen them up. It's not that big a deal if they don't have their phone, they don't have their device. Jeff was out in ice cold weather with 8-foot visibility, clipping vines, right? So we're doing our kids a disservice. We're doing our kids a disservice if you're not making them tough, because later in life, when the parents are gone and you're trying to build a business like Trueform and everything that can go, you get sued. He got sued, right? By the big guys, because the big guys don't want a new player coming in. And he somehow pushed through. And I followed him through this whole thing. I've known him 5 years. He pushed through, and he came out the other side with a settlement, as most lawsuits. I just learned 95% of lawsuits get settled. 95%, only 5% go to court. So it finally gets settled, and here he is. He's finally, after 5 years of hell, he's finally in business. So again, that teaches us, stick it out. Stick it out. Because we all, you know, you've seen that little cliche, right? You've seen that little image of the guy tunneling through the dirt. And he's been tunneling through for months. And finally, it's that old cartoon. And finally, you know, he or she is 1 foot from breaking through the other side and quits. And that happens to all of us. But Jeff didn't quit. He didn't quit because of the way he grew up. Anyway, stay tuned. Subscribe. I want to see you again tomorrow and the next day and next week, because you're going to learn some great things here about grit and resilience. And hopefully, we're going to rip you off the couch. We're going to get you outside. We're going to get you doing cool. Who knows? Maybe you'll be running on a true form runner every morning. Maybe you'll be picking grapes in the winter in Buffalo, New York. But whatever it is, we're going to get you hard. We're going to get you gritty. And we're going to get you successful.